I'd like to start this session with the facts and the truth don't always agree. Conventional sources would have you think that the prime time, the optimal time to sell your home is spring, or the Saturday that is closest to May the 15th, if they're going to get specific. And quite frankly, in my humble but highly accurate opinion, this is pure bovine excrement, okay? The best time to absolutely sell your home is before you need to. And there's ways to go about doing this by using the history and the market cycle data to your advantage. Try thinking of it as if you were a surfer. And you may get out there on your board just as the best wave comes in, and it be just a fluke to catch that best wave. But if you really want to drop in and hang 10 on the best tidal bore, big Kahuna, you're going to want to realize that the waves come in sets. And you may have to get out there and ride a few cycles to catch the best wave. A little bit about me, as I am here to rock your world and detonate the boxes of conventional wisdom. A little more about me, as I was raised rather unconventionally. While I was raised in upper middle class suburbia, everywhere from San Diego to the Bahamas. And while I'm a Heinz 57 ethnic, fifth generation Southern Californian, half Texan that has been in Northwest Arkansas for the past quarter century, I was raised real unconventionally. At about 10 years old, my family moved off the grid, back to the land, out in Newton County, Arkansas. My formative years from the age of 10 to 16 were in the deep woods of the Ozarks with no electricity, no running water, no phone, no joke, right? And you learn a lot about how to grow your own food, source your own utilities, and do a lot more than just survive. We thrived on the adventure and the reality. There's no such thing as a problem as long as you have a great mind, if you can think, a great attitude, and a good team. That being said, when deer season was fixing to open up, my dad used to tell me, boy, it's time to get out there and harvest us a deer. 2 or 3 days before season opened. Why? Because harvesting a deer, it's not just about the game and getting the biggest rack that you can out of the deal. You really want a deer, if you're harvesting it for fuel, to not be loaded up on adrenaline and having run for the past day or two over 3 counties, right? So keep it in mind that, and not only that, I had the pick of all of the herd, really, because I knew where they were going to be coming in and out. And also, for the purposes of clarity and understanding here, I want it to be understood that the term on the market, I'll concede that that's widely construed, conventionally speaking, to be you've hired a real estate agent and it's plugged into the MLS. But I really want to start cracking open that box of understanding that on the market really only means that you've made a decision and that you know what you have to sell and that you are ready to promote an offering, suggested retail price, to be able to start disclosing it to your friends, family, neighbors, HR departments, and whoever else, social media, right? Because real estate is local and your highest and best buyer is oftentimes within arm's reach away. So most markets work in the cycles of the seasonal supply and demand. And real estate, there are 4 definitive peaks of buyer traffic. Spring, right? Or more definitively, the first cycle of the year usually starts around spring break. When people are planning to go into that new marketplace and take that week of vacation that the kids are out of school and to go and do reconnaissance work and research a particular area. And the real early adopters are prone to go ahead and make decisions in that session of the cycle. The second most highly trafficked time in the real estate market is the week following the Memorial Day weekend. Again, the kids are out of school. We're ready to move into this new town or upgrade or downgrade or whatever they're doing because, that weekend has transpired and there's a shift and people flock into the market and they want to get while the getting's good. And there's the highest supply available and they are able to move in by hopefully the middle of summer and adjust to their home. Now, the third highest peak of the market cycle is the third week of June, going into the fourth week, the end of June, right? Why is that? Well, all those people that started shopping back around spring break and that were really picky in particular and looking for just the right place have pretty well exhausted the supply. Those that haven't bought yet that there is the lowest supply and the highest demand because they still want to get their children settled in before school starts and they're running out of time. And that's the best time if you have the time and the patience to run a little higher risk of plugging it into a full-blown market, then that's going to be your best time to insert your product into the supply chain because they have less time to pick a fight and they are exhausted and they're just needing a deal and they can't afford for it to backfire 2 weeks in when they're thinking about making those nitpickety repairs requests, right? So those are oftentimes the best time to really get the most. The fourth cycle in the real estate season, usually the Rona has thrown all kinds of stuff off this year, but I would have it known that September and October are usually pretty dead. However, I've found so many times been so surprised in the November, December cycle that I've oftentimes done 20, sometimes 30% of my gross sales revenue as a real estate broker in November and December. So that being said, why? Because there are a lot of shifts happening we're precluding the new year. We're looking forward to new beginnings. There's, again, move the children in between on that break in the cycle. Snowbirders are having a tendency to move, those that are retiring or moving on, and tax benefits. There's a lot of reasons why people purchase. So one of the best times to actually insert your supply into the chain is oftentimes right about the end of October, sometimes as late as the second week in November. And with those 4 cycles being known, selling your home before you need to, if you're anticipating needing to sell in May or June, you'd be well advised to start and declare your offering and prepare to receive offers by as early as November, December, right? Or if you know that you need to sell in that June cycle, you need to be prepared to insert or start promoting on alternative platforms, social media, have a yard sale, take a flyer. You want this book or would you like to buy the whole yard? Okay. Get creative, but be proactive. And I say all this because I've done it. I've sold houses 7 months in advance of need for cash and finding the highest and best buyer who didn't want the property to go on the open market. Okay. By being able to actually target the highest and best buyer. Selling times in negative days on market I've proven. I've done Phil and Nellie Girk. I sold their house 7 months before they needed to. Michael and Christy Walker, -1 day on market by them exercising proactive alternative marketing strategies, right? So think outside the box or detonate the boxes of what you see, think, feel, and believe. And really, if there's any way at all that you are having any kind of challenges or issues getting on, subscribe, like, comment. I would love to hear what your perspective is. And I really appreciate you and hope you make it a great day. Bye-bye.